Hey, this is Andy Jenkins with the Oily App Podcast, and I am in fitness episode number 2 with my friend Johnny Williams and Ernie Yarbrough. Now, let me tell you really quickly about Oily App. Oily App is like having a desk reference on your smartphone. It's an app that does things that, honestly, books can't do. So books cannot do stock notifications. Books cannot do, if a new product is released at convention, a book can't do that unless you rewrite, republish, and then rebuy the book, whereas we just kind of push a notification and an update out, and then you got all the information right there. Books can't do videos. Books can't do monthly prizes. Books can't do audio and all of this other stuff that's happening. Anyway, go to your app store right there, download it. I think it's like, how much is it, Ernie? It's like
$5.99.
Oh, so it's like,
it's less than $6.
So it's like the cost of a latte. No, maybe the cost of a latte.
A large latte.
And then a cup of hot chocolate for your little kid.
Latte and a scone.
Latte and a donut. Oh, it's not much, but it's like a one time. You buy it, and then like this is not like a monthly subscription, and then you get there.
Yep.
There are other options. So we've got 40 or 50 classes now that people can grab.
Yeah, and we have with the Oily app, we're going to be morphing the Oily app Plus to become Oily app Pro, which will be all in the app, one unified thing. You'll be able to, if you want to get some extra classes or do a subscription, it's all there. But when you buy the app, you unlock the entire base app, all these great features, options, teaching. It's phenomenal.
You know I'm bilingual too, right? In the app, and I'm bilingual.
The app is good for 7 countries. Right now, we're adding more countries, and you can swap it to Spanish right there in the settings. Yep. So if you got a Spanish team, you're ready to go.
No, I am bilingual.
You are bilingual,
not just the app.
Well, that's impressive.
Well, there are people that are translating all the things into Espanol.
That's right.
No hablo Espanol.
Yes. I am not bilingual. I am unilingual.
Well, we got Gladys and Jocelyn.
Unless you include using the word y'all as a separate way to speak English.
Well, you speak Southern redneck.
That's right.
Gladys and Jocelyn are native Spanish speakers.
That's right.
They've been translating all of the things into. So we've got I think maybe 8 or 10 classes in Spanish.
Yeah. We're about to have a whole new DIY section videos of them teaching live DIY video classes, both in English and Spanish.
English and in Spanish.
Yep.
I think we've written maybe 15. We call them the series of books you'll actually read.
That's right.
Because they're short and they've got lots of pictures.
And
they're funny. But we've got 15. I think maybe 8, 9 of them are in Espanol.
Yep.
All of that information's there. I'm going to drop a link in the show notes where you can go just kind of chase that rabbit and follow more. Anyway, here we are. Fitness episode number 2. Last week, we introduced you to Johnny Williams, who many of you know. He's the Oiler guy. I want to talk about that a little bit in this episode, like O-I-L-R. Straight A student, can't even spell Oiler. Okay, so a lot of you guys have seen seen that. You were supposed to bring me an Oiler hat.
I didn't have any at the house, man.
I know that's not true.
They're coming, man.
That's okay.
You don't wear snapbacks, do you?
I'll wear a flat bill. I'll wear a snapback, a flat bill. Let me tell you a true story that I wasn't even going to put on the podcast because it has nothing to do with any of this. The other day, I decided one of my boys is playing football now, like you used to do. He's not as good as you yet, but he's playing at the local high school here, the middle school. So I'm like, I need to get a hat. So he plays for Oak Mountain. I need to go get an Oak Mountain hat. So I'm assuming this is like high school world when I was in high school. You can just go down to the local sporting good and you could buy any high school team off the rack. Well, you can't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. I thought you could, so I looked for it, can't find it. Finally, I end up with a blue Nike. Now, it's a good hat, but it's one that, cool wicks, you can sweat through, it's a cycling, running, fitness hat. I'm like, team color, great, I'll wear it. So I've got it. Going to take it to the first game. First game, lightninged out. Canceled. Second game, I just forget the hat. I've got on blue. I've got the team colors. They won the game. It was tied against Mountain Brook. which is like the uber high school in town, and they won the game. They'd been trying to do these passes down the field. Oak Mountain had the entire game, and they just kept. I mean, they're middle school, so the quarterback throws a great pass, but the routes run wrong, or the routes run right, quarterback throws bad. I mean, they're bad pass. They're just learning it, and so finally these guys connect 2 plays in a row. It's just perfect. They've been trying, which just kind of proves you try something long enough,
You're gonna get it.
you're gonna get it. So these guys get it, and in the last 30 seconds of the game, they go all the way. They move it from 6-0 because nobody can kick a field goal, right? They move it from 6-0 or from 6-6 to 12-6 to go for the 2-point conversion because still can't put it through the upright. They get it, so they win the game 14. In the last bit. So I'm leaving, and one of the dads has a hat. And I'm like, where did you get that? Like, it's an OM hat. All the coaches have. Yeah. Where did you get this? He's like, well, it's a baseball cap. We had them all set for baseball season, but then
they got canceled.
COVID hit. So this is the second episode in a row I brought up COVID, even though I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So
I had all my baseball clothing, hat, shirts that were special ordered, special made for my boys, and now
he's gonna give me a hat.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll get you a hat. Yeah. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He goes, if practice pickup or whatever, and then it happened. I wanted
to go to a Lang Sporting Good or something to order you.
I wasn't going to be picking up Levi the next day, and so finally he just looks at me and goes, man, do you want this hat? Now, I mean, everybody's got to wear a mask at the football game, right?
Right.
I mean, but I'm walking close enough to this other dad to talk, and he's like, you just want this one? I was like, sure. He goes, man, I've got boxes of these hats. I was like, I'll take that hat. He goes, here you go. I was like, do you owe you anything for this? He goes, no, I got more at the house. You just have this one. This is the first time I've worn it. So, I brought it back and washed it and all that kind of stuff, but I've got you could have at least done what that guy did. I didn't even know him.
Sorry, that was all a great story.
That's all the build
throw you under the bus.
My God.
Okay, last time, let me get it, because we've talked nothing about what people want to even hear about, but they've been entertained. So maybe the last time we're talking about fitness, we gave our definition. Fitness is a measure of your health in every area of your life. So physical, that's the body, mind, and emotions, and spirit. Mm-hmm. And we talked a little bit about your story for being a college, really professional level athlete, and the difference between training and exercise. We talked about some of that. People, I think, get them confused, and they think that training is what they really need to be doing. They even use that term when it's really just exercise is where it is. But we left you stranded at Alex's house in Texas.
Yeah, so
pick up the story.
I stayed there, got a job at a nightclub there.
Because you were homeless. Everybody,
I was homeless.
So
for people who are tuning in,
Alex throws you a life raft.
Yeah, he throws me a big old life raft, and saved my life, man. Thank you, Alex. That's my buddy, man. I love him. But I ended up getting a job there with a nightclub, out of all things. So I was a security guard at a nightclub. So you can only imagine all the testosterone that's going through me of having to break up fights and all this crazy stuff. But I actually ended up landing the job with a guy that was competing for the world's strongest man. And so he started teaching me more about fitness and, his regimen every day. And the one thing he keyed on was diet. I don't really like the word diet. I more prefer the word nutrition.
That's right.
And he more started telling me more of how he did it and, his protocols and what his coach was telling him to do and certain things. And so I really started looking into nutrition more, because I was just, you would think a college athlete would know more about nutrition, but most of these athletes, unless you're at Alabama and you're getting steaks and different types of meals prepped for you or things like that. I was at Duke, but our football program wasn't where it needed to be when I was there. And so we had a place called what they call the Devil's Den. And
at Duke?
At Duke. And
because it's the Duke Blue Devils.
Blue Devils, right, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they call it the Devil's Den. And most of the food there was, I'm not trying to, knock on Duke, but it was mostly just hamburgers, pizza, kind of filler food.
It's just cafeteria food like they have at the college, just in a nicer environment.
It's just filler food. You're getting calories. You're gonna burn it off, and you'll be just fine. I didn't even have a 6-pack in college.
Yeah. Wow.
While you're playing?
While I'm playing.
Do you have one now? I don't want to see it if you do.
Oh yeah, I do now, but because it's my nutrition.
Y'all should see his face when he was like, I couldn't tell if you're going, well, of course I do. Or
I remember
embarrassed
an interview
going,
I saw when it was a few years ago. Somebody was interviewing Jordan. They said, "Can you still dunk a basketball?" He looked at me. It was like this complete disdain. He was like, "Yes."
Jordan?
Yeah.
And he's like 60?
You can't say no.
He's at least
55,
middle to late 50s. Yeah.
Dunk it.
He's like, "Yes." Like, you need to ask me that?
But yeah, I mean, I ended up learning more about nutrition with him, and I kind of took that and took it back to my mother's house back in, Leroy, Alabama, St. Stephen's, Alabama.
What are some of the things that like the strongest man that you were?
Mostly
for,
just
like
back then it was
couple
probably around
sentences.
2013, 2012, around that area, right after I graduated. So, mostly around that time it was the big protein era, and mostly just getting your proteins, getting your macronutrients, and making sure you get your micros, and so he basically just focused on 3 aspects of his nutrition.
And we've got a book, people who are wondering about the calorie count and all that kind of stuff. We've got a book on keto, which talks about whether you go keto or not. The fundamental idea in that book is if you eat like the food pyramid says, or eat what the USDA says, you will get fat.
Yeah.
You will be chubby.
Yeah, go look up that pyramid.
If you eat the recommendations that they have, I mean, you'll look. I mean, the phrase I would say is you look festively plump.
Right.
Well, if you
fluffy,
what's
the guy's name?
pyramid,
Fluffy.
If you take the food pyramid and you round the corners, it's kind of like muffin top, which is kind of how
You'll look like. I mean, you will look like.
There's something to learn there, because you can learn from every I've been through almost every single thing you can think of as far as nutrition goes. I mean, I was a vegetarian. I went vegan, carnivore, and it's been more of a learning thing for me. I'm like, I'm not going to try that. For me, I'm like, okay, I'll try it.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what it could do for me, because it may be the best thing for me.
For you, because your body may have. All of our bodies have certain similar needs. My body may have unique needs, different needs that we need to address through nutrition.
Right.
Like our buddy Eli, we're wanting to do a book with on CrossFit and so forth with oils. He's doing this diet now, or nutrition now, where it's a heavy diet of carbs, but it's all clean carbs, like sweet potatoes and rice and those things. And he's just experimenting with a season for it. And his mom has tremendously helped her. She's lost like 30 or 40 pounds eating clean carbs. Wow. Yeah, he's a whole new. Yeah, he did some research and some studying on some stuff that he was looking at, and so different Asian cultures and kind of how they were eating, and it's actually helped her just in changing her diet. And like his wife Bethany, they're not Crown Diamond, they're almost Crown Diamond in Young Living. She's got gestational diabetes, and so just by going on this clean carb diet, it actually has, the doctors are amazed. So she's like totally normal, just going on a clean healthy carb, vegetables, rice, sweet potatoes. So he has this whole theory he's developing around this. He's just experimenting with it.
Yeah, trying it on himself.
But he's because he says bodybuilders, and you can even get ripped eating clean carbs. Oh yeah. Because bodybuilders will go either one way or the other. They'll do heavy fat no carb, or heavy carb no fat. Right. The problem comes when you mix both of them. Yeah. And you start mixing fats and carbs together, and then you start getting buffing top. So.
I went on a seafood diet.
Seafood, you eat it?
Seafood, you eat it? Yeah. All right. Anyway. Okay.
So yeah,
that's an old joke. But yeah, go back.
He taught me a lot, and then I took that knowledge and went back to my mother's, and I told her I'm gonna train for the NFL and see what comes of this.
But we're changing your nutrition.
Yeah, and changing my nutrition, and that was literally probably the best shape I've probably ever been in. I mean, 6-pack wasn't a 6-pack; it was more of a 8. It was I was literally shredded. And I mean, my brother was like, "What are you doing? Like, I don't even, what are you doing?" I said, "Man, my nutrition has changed." And it was like my body just caught up, And so I took that. I did well. I got my agent, and I did a pro day at Troy University, and did pretty good there. And then I had another pro day at South Alabama in Mobile, and then another training at I think it was in Atlanta, where I tried out for a CFL team. And, I just got tired of just chasing the dream. Continually chase it. I was like, well, I proved to myself that I can actually be healthy.
Yeah.
Prove to myself that I can, live above the wellness line. Well, maybe I should see if I can help other people.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started to study more about, providing services for being a personal trainer. And so I started training kids for football. And, that lasted for about 2-3 years. And I actually ended up being a high school football coach for about a year. I would say I didn't like it, but I would say, it was just the way it was structured that I didn't like, the whole thing of, the whole politic thing. But, I learned a lot there, and I still talk to those kids, and, I learned a lot through those trials, through those, to me, for me, there's a lot of failures in my story.
Well,
there's also a lot of.
I think that's everybody's story.
And that's why I think it's so important that you tell it, because people, we even though we're us three, or Andy and I are on a fitness level closer to each other than where you've been, where you're at now, but like we're always going to be at different fitness levels. But the whole point is that if you're falling forward.
Right.
You're not falling.
Emotion. Keep going.
You're falling forward even through your. You learn more. The key is to be able to step back and look at your failure,
right?
Or even not even calling it a failure as much as a learning experience,
right?
To be able to analyze it, see it for what it is, and learn from it. That's where the value is. I mean, how many times have we seen stories of guys who've made it in business, and you see a successful person on Shark Tank or something or whatever, or these TV shows or people out there, Fortune 500 or whatever, and you start digging in their story, and some of these guys who came from nothing, I mean, they were even homeless,
right?
Or whatever, on their car or whatever, that running back played for Bama, now for the Raiders, Josh Jacobs. That's a great story about him. Even while he was at Alabama, dude was sleeping in his car, and now he's killing it.
Yeah.
But his story of responsibility, hard work is incredible. Just because all that was behind the scenes.
And those stories,
and it made you. It built the success.
Those stories, I'm very, very appreciative of my story. I don't feel bad about my story. I'm not, I don't regret anything. There are some things I'm not very proud of, but, there's a lot of things that I can learn and teach from my stories. I could probably make a book out of this story that I have of being homeless and all the experiences I've had, and, coming to learning more about nutrition. I just feel that, everybody's story is very unique, and going back to, the definition of fitness, I feel like all those things I've been able to, build, not just one, maybe one at a time, but not just one. I'm not just overwhelmingly good at one. I'm very well balanced now, and being able to, be a great husband, and providing for my family, and be a father, all those things come together, because maybe it may be cool in a couple of years where my son knows how much weight I'm lifting, or, if I can run a mile in this thing. But right now, he just wants me to care.
Right. That's right.
He wants me to, hey, daddy. He calls me daddy now.
Yeah.
He didn't call me daddy anymore. He calls me daddy. I don't know where he got, I think it's like some kind of cartoon he's watching.
Well, the thing with kids though is like
my name changes almost every day.
I've had several kids, right? And I think the thing that you lock onto with them is if there's something that's really cool they're doing, like in 6 weeks it'll be gone.
Right.
Like so, but and if there's something annoying they're doing, same thing. 6 weeks,
it'll be gone.
It's gone. It's like you'd have to. It's like a bull ride. You just hang on. You either enjoy it or you just endure it either way. Because it's going to be
one of the guys who helps behind the scenes coding with Oli app and getting all that in your phone in your hand there is Kurt, and we were laughing about how that there are days when because we homeschool, he homeschools, and we were laughing about we could just take one day out of our life with our kids as we're all of our kids are similar ages, young to 10, 11. We could just record what we say one day and just put it on autoplay every day. Repeat.
It's the same thing.
Hey, be kind to your sister. Be kind to your brother. Stay focused with your school. No, you can't go outside and take a break from school by going fishing for an hour, And then all of a sudden, like one day, it's like with my 11-year-old, something will click and we'll see a little bit of light. And it's like,
we put a sound system.
Wow, it's like, hey, Dad, you just offered to do dishes for Mama and she didn't have to ask you?
But it's because he wants something on the back end, so now you're about to get hit. All right, so back to fitness. I think one of the things that you kind of locked onto with this one about nutrition is, here's this phrase I've said it in our book, Finding Keto, is you can't outrun a bad diet.
No.
Or you can't out-exercise a bad diet, or you can't you'll never, and it dawned on me the first time when I was writing that book, I was trying it. I'm like, I'm going to try the diet, see if it actually works. Because if I don't want to write about this, if it doesn't, and if it does, I can actually write better. So I was already at a pretty good weight, already in good shape, tried it, still lost weight. I didn't think I had any I could lose. I did. So recount all of that in that book. But as I was running some of the numbers, I came up with it. I'm like, if I go run for an hour, pretty good pace, which I could do right now, I would burn probably 750 calories. If I come back and I go eat a McDonald's hamburger, Big Mac, and fries, I've just taken in 1,200 calories.
Yeah, go ahead and put them back in, double that.
I've put it back in, I've doubled it. And a lot of times people exercise and they go, oh, hey, I can eat this because I just exercised. Or let's just say just go to Starbucks. And I got fat years ago drinking white chocolate mochas, adding caramel to it. Woo. Okay, I would drink 2 of those a day. Now you add it up, it's 720 calories per drink. I was doing 2 a day, and I was always getting a donut or a cheese Danish or something. It was amazing that I wasn't larger than I was. Okay, but that run just negated by
one of those drinks.
Yeah. Plus the sugar and all the other stuff that it did that jacked up my immune system and all. So the point is, a lot of times people think, well, I'm exercising, I can eat what I want. Yeah, and you're a college athlete running this speed, don't have a six-pack, because you can't outrun the bad diet.
Right. I mean, and you can't outrun your problems. So, for me, that's a problem, because if you're doing your best and you're going to work out and you're putting all this energy into exercising, there's no reason to not reward yourself. So rewarding yourself would be, oh, I'm coming home, I'm going to, do the right things, because everything for me starts in the kitchen. Well, actually starts in the mind, because if you can program your mind, you can program everything else in your life.
Right.
So
I thought you were going somewhere else with that kitchen thing. There's this phrase I read in a book: sex starts in the kitchen.
Oh God.
Service.
I guess if you go wash the dishes, take care of your wife.
My wife told me the other day. She said
sex starts in the kitchen.
Well, almost. She said something about me sweeping the floor, vacuuming, washing dishes. She said that's sexy. And I was like,
you're right.
Duly noted. Put that in the brain.
Put that in span.
That's going to go in that one box in my brain. Things that I don't forget.
Still waiting for the payoff.
Reward yourself.
All right. So you're saying it all starts in the kitchen,
right? It all starts. I mean, nutrition is key. You got the 80-20 rule.
What's the 80-20 rule?
So, I mean, you're doing 80% of one thing and you're doing 20% of the other. They both affect each other. So if you're doing 80% of something wrong and you're only doing 20% of something right, then which one's going to outweigh the other?
Right.
So
right.
I always try to put things into perspective. Everybody, you can eat food that you like when you're working out. It depends on, when you're eating it, how, what you're taking in at a certain time. I mean, for me, I'm very, very flexible with myself because I know I like certain things. I like chocolate covered almonds. I don't like donuts. Sorry. I don't even like watermelon.
My kids will
that's a sin.
pound donuts.
But I like enjoying food. So mine are mostly snacks. I really love snacks. Like, like I said, one of my favorite snacks is chocolate covered almonds. But I'm putting a plug in here for Lenny and Larry's. I like their cookies, but it's still a cookie. They call it a protein cookie, but it still has 26 grams of sugar.
Right. Yep.
So I kind of try to, balance my nutrition as much as possible. Some days I feel like I did horrible, and some days I feel like I did my best. But the best thing about it is don't get down on yourself. And that's where it becomes a mental game. Because if I just took in, like the other day, literally, I took in 2 of those Lenny and Larry big cookies. That's probably 100 carbs and 26 grams times 2 is
52.
You ate 2 cookies?
2 big not just 2 regular cookies, 2 huge cookies.
Man, that's making me
And for me, I'm like, okay, well, I just ate these cookies. What do? I need to balance it.
Flog yourself.
I need to balance it. So what I did was the next day I went out and I ran sprints. And I'm not going to eat the same cookies again.
Right. But I think it's like a principle, like I was reading in the Old Testament, where it talked about that you set aside a certain percentage of money to spend on whatever you wanted, like for fun money. So it's not like healthy nutrition doesn't mean you can't ever have something fun.
Yeah.
But
nutrition doesn't mean perfect.
But the meat of what you do can be healthy and tasty at the same time.
Right. You can take in, as long as you're burning more calories than you're taking in, you're in a caloric deficit, you're going to be fine. The problem gets in to where you're over exceeding your exercise with the calories you're taking in. And it also depends on where you're getting your calories, because you may be trying to be a bodybuilder, or you may be trying to gain weight, or most people in this era are trying to release weight. Yeah, they're trying to release weight. So, find you a good trainer, find you a good mentor, and run with it, because those 2 things in themselves it's gonna help you. For me, when I train people, my biggest thing is I'm probably jumping ahead, but my biggest thing is rest. That's the best micronutrient that you can get.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to talk about rest, I think, in the next episode for sure. Come to that, because that was really important. Let me hang on food here, because this kind of leads into maybe kind of where I want to land the main idea for this talk. Is so often we look at food as just habit. That's when I was getting the white chocolate mochas, twice a day. I'd get one on the way into the office. I'd get one on the way either home or after lunch, depending on kind of what my routine was that day. But it was just habit. And as I stepped back from that, I realized how many times I was turning into the coffee shop based on habit, because I was driving that same road. It's the same thing. I'd be out running and then crave Mountain Dew when I was coming in. I could chug a big 30-ounce, 32-ounce cup of Mountain Dew. It is weird, but it was just habit.
Right. Same
in
college.
I think it's
Sprite.
Sprite
And Gatorade.
I think it's
2 of the worst things.
Gatorade's horrible. But I think it's moving from, there's this concept of the wellness line that we draw out. I'm gonna put a graphic of that in the show notes, and it's really getting people to think in terms of moving from below that line to above it. And so when we talk about food, it's moving from eating as a habit to looking at food as nutrition, as fuel. And there are times, like, I'll cheat. There are times, like when we go out, everybody knows that if there's bread pudding, I'm going to order it. That's like my favorite dessert. But I'll generally take 2 bites and then send it around the table, because I figured out like 2 bites gives me effectively no more satisfaction than eating the entire thing, which generally makes me feel
bad.
Yeah, but then everybody laughs about it. We did this at one advance event we're at. I got it, sent it around the table, and I think it stopped. It got to Brian Tarkenton, and Brian cleaned it out. It's like it was. Everybody laughed about it. He's got calories to spare.
Yeah, exactly.
But then we, below the wellness line is this idea of diagnosing, treating, prescribing. Whereas we say, let's don't diagnose, treat, or prescribe unless we need to. There's an issue. let's look at lifestyle instead.
Yeah.
Or instead of looking at symptoms. We've been talking about this in all the classes with Dr. Jim Bob as we've been going through the body the last year and the body systems. Look at not body symptoms, but how do you support body systems?
That's right.
And instead
let those systems do the job they're meant to do.
Yeah, and support the whole system.
That's right.
Last week we talked about negative thoughts and self-doubt a little bit and moving that above the line to positive thoughts, belief, hope. Instead of being sedentary, last time you were up here, you went into my garage and did some movement. Instead of just being sedentary, it's like just move. Like just
That's all you got to do.
Just a little bit. Like you don't have to have this. It's great if you got a big exercise plan. You'll be more consistent. But if you don't or you're on vacation, just move.
That's all you got to do. Move.
So it's this whole idea of when we think about the wellness line, really what I want to get into very briefly at the end is just this idea of frequency. That frequency is a measure of how alive things are. So food has frequency.
That's right.
So you look at some of the common foods that people eat. I've got some of them right here. Like some plants and herbs have a frequency of 20 to 27 megahertz. That means they're more alive than processed foods,
Right.
which come out of a can. You go to Cracker Barrel, that stuff's all canned.
Right.
0 megahertz. There's no life in it.
Nothing at all.
So it's not going to boost.
Yeah.
It's not going to boost you higher.
It's going to bring you down.
It's going to actually.
That's right.
And you start thinking about other things that have frequency. We talk a
human
lot
body,
of times. Well, we talk
obviously.
about essential oils have frequency.
Yeah, that's right. And again, my background being electrical engineering, I never made the connection between all the studies we did of sine waves and stuff and frequency in college to the human body and food until Young Living came around and Gary Young was talking about this stuff. And then I've read more about it and it blew me away. But it makes sense because wherever you've got current, you got frequency.
Well, if you think about sound having frequency, it makes sense that certain music and things that you listen to would actually make you feel better.
Yeah.
And other things would make you feel not so better.
Right. That's right.
The human body, here's some of the stats that we
it's a system
found.
of electricity.
It is. I mean, and people go, that sounds weird about the human body, but if you go to any hospital down the street, they'll have an electrocardiogram. They're measuring the frequency with the heart at 62 to 68 megahertz.
Yep.
A person's generally considered healthy. You drop to 58 megahertz, cold symptoms appear, flu symptoms appear at 57 megahertz. When does COVID appear? I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't want to get into that. But I know
it's hard to say because it's the most intelligent disease that ever existed. So I don't.
It depends on where you are. It depends on if you're a restaurant, if you're
right.
at a protest, or if you're at church.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
Okay, 55 megahertz, serious here. Candida yeast.
Yeah.
So as you go lower, 42 megahertz, cancer. So as you go lower, bigger issues. 25 megahertz for a person, the process of dying begins, and at 0, you're dead. So the point of this is what we want to do is push our frequency higher. There are things that you can do. I'll put some of it in the show notes.
Right.
They say prayer raises your frequency 10 to 15 megahertz. Positive thoughts raises it 10 to 15. So all those studies about talking to plants, food raises it, exercise raises it. So if we're constantly looking at food, nutrition, all of these things, is if we can just raise that higher.
That's right.
Put more life in.
Yep. This is really the next important step. Johnny, you made the comment that the first step people need to do, don't look at exercise and wellness and fitness as like, I don't even know where to start. Just make it, eat the elephant right one bite at a time. Aim small, miss small, right? So first of all is realize that you need to have to lose weight, you got to have a caloric deficit. And people don't realize in America so often how many calories they're eating. That's step one. Then step two is once you begin to get that aligned, you know what? First of all, I just need to change my portions and I realized, wow. I was like, my goodness, no wonder step two. Step two then is not just my quantity and amounts of food, but the quality, the type of food that I'm eating.
Right.
Is it alive?
Right.
Is it going to actually help my body? Raise my body frequency to a level that's going to help maintain wellness and support my body systems, or am I eating dead food?
And so Nikola Tesla said it. Nikola Tesla said it best. I mean, I think he would have been one of the best fitness trainers there is.
Right.
He said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Yeah.
So when you think of that, I mean, I mean, his studies and his accomplishments is just amazing.
Incredible.
Right? So as far as fitness goes, when you think of energy, vibration, frequency,
Yep.
you're thinking in terms of rest.
Yeah.
You can check your heart, your resting heartbeat to see how healthy you are.
Right.
You can check how your sleep patterns for your circadian rhythm. You can think of what is your as far as getting your blood test, if you're getting the right micronutrients and macronutrients in. I mean, there's so many things that you can test out.
Yeah.
And when I'm as far as like essential oils, when you're thinking of essential oils and how they raise your frequency, like you said, prayer raises your frequency. Being around good guys like you raises my frequency. It all correlates with each other because we're all frequency, and everything has a frequency, whether it be 0 or whether it be 100.
Right.
So
Sure.
I mean, I think that's one of the coolest quotes ever.
Yeah, and at first this may sound strange or weird to people, but then once you begin to look at these numbers and study, and you realize, wait a minute, how many things actually in the world that I interact with, whether it's medical, with machines or whatever, they're actually measuring or monitoring this stuff. Like, wow, I mean, it's funny. Like, here I had all these 4 years of engineering, electrical engineering, and this reality of hertz, frequency, body, and food did not even cross my mind.
Right.
Until after somebody, Gary Young, and then my wife reading and sharing things with me, helped me begin to take a new perspective on this and realize it's actually far more reaching than, why should it seem strange that I can acknowledge this in the natural phenomena of the world, but not my body? And I think
Which is natural.
Phenomena.
Now, when I think of it, I can think one time that I actually went into a workout in college where I actually had energy. Like I had a good energy.
Right.
Like, oh man, I can't wait to go do this workout.
That's right.
I don't think I had that one time.
Just grin and bear it.
But now I'm really excited. Like
Yep.
I'm happy to go work out. I'm happy to go do, go exercise. And so having the right nutrition and putting the right things in your body can definitely, either alter that or it can affect it in a positive way. And so especially like the night before you go work out, studies have shown like the food that you eat can last a pretty long time. So depending on when you're working out, if I mostly work out in the mornings before my family gets up so that I can spend time with them. But like if I'm eating McDonald's I don't think I've eaten McDonald's since I was in college. Because it just made me so sick.
Yep.
And I never understood why I would get so many injuries when I was in college. And I know it was my food intake. Yeah. Because I'm not getting them now, and I'm older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you would think that's when you fall apart. That's right.
In reality, you're just getting better.
Right.
Because now as you got older, you become more aware of the realities
I actually started to oil my machine.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, I got to shut it down because we're going up to past the stop point. Here's the deal, though. If you want more information about frequency, living above the wellness line, we do have some information about that in the show notes for you. Also, if you'll take a look at the Oils of the Bible course that is in Oily App Plus, in fact, the entire book is in there, and it's not the audio book because there's not an audio book of that one yet, but there is kind of the long form of me just teaching the information. We videoed it in front of a live audience, and then we've got the videos you can watch and the audio from that to where if you want to listen while you're driving, walking, exercising, whatever. There is an entire section in that on frequency and how it has to do with thoughts, how it has to do with essential oils, how it has to do with prayer, how it has to do with movement, belief patterns. All of that right there in the middle of the book will help you get above the wellness line. All right, we'll be back next week. We're going to talk about next week. I think we got Johnny from Alex's house back to his mom's house and training and eating right. We're going to talk next week about this one thing. I'll give you the hint. It's basically you need more rest. A lot of you are walking around stumbling over yourself almost as if you're drunk. And I'm going to explain that in the next episode. All right, signing off. This is Andy Jenkins with Ernie and Johnny. You guys have an amazing week. We'll talk to you again soon.